I still remember the exact moment my life changed, even though at the time it felt like a very small decision. I was 18 years old, walking through an animal shelter for the first time in my life. I didn't have a clear plan, I just felt something pulling me there. Maybe curiosity, maybe loneliness, maybe the quiet feeling that I needed a companion even though I didn't fully understand why. The shelter was louder than I expected. Dogs barking, paws hitting the metal doors of the kennels. Volunteers moving around cleaning bowls and talking softly to the animals. Every dog seemed to be asking for attention in their own way. Some jumped against the gates, some barked loudly, some wagged their tails as fast as they could. And then there was him, a Labrador Retriever. Specifically a Fox Red Labrador. His coat had that deep reddish color that looked almost golden under the shelter lights. Unlike the others, he wasn't jumping or barking. He was just sitting there quietly, watching the room with calm eyes. When I stopped in front of his kennel, he looked at me in a way I can't really explain. Not desperate, not afraid, just hopeful. I knelt down slowly. "Hey there," I whispered through the bars. He stood up, walked toward me, and gently pushed his nose against my fingers. No barking, no jumping, just a quiet hello. In that moment, something inside me settled. I didn't need to see any other dogs. I didn't need more time to think. I just knew, I want this one. I told the volunteer. The woman smiled. "That's a Fox Red Labrador Retriever. He's been waiting for a home." Not anymore. A little while later, I was walking out of the shelter with him beside me, holding the leash in my hand. Before getting into the car, I looked down at him again, his reddish coat glowing softly in the sunlight. "You need a name," I said quietly. He tilted his head. I smiled. "Spike? Your name is Spike." His tail wagged immediately, as if he had just agreed with the decision. "The right home." Home was quiet. Spike sat in the passenger seat looking out the window, ears moving with every new sound. Every few seconds he would glance at me as if checking that I was still there. "I guess it's just us now," I told him. His tail tapped softly against the seat. That first evening at home was simple, but I remember every detail. I made myself a sandwich because I hadn't eaten since morning. While I sat at the kitchen table, Spike stood next to his bowl on the floor eating his food. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Between bites he looked up at me. I laughed. "What? You judging my sandwich?" He wagged his tail slowly and went back to his bowl. It was such a normal moment, but somehow it felt important. We were sharing the same space, the same quiet evening, the same beginning. Over the next few days, we started building our routine. When I studied at the table, Spike would lie down next to my chair. Sometimes he rested his head on my foot. Other times he just watched me turn pages of my notebook, like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. At night he followed me from room to room, learning the house as if he had always belonged there. One afternoon I grabbed a tennis ball and stepped into the backyard. "Let's see if you know how to play," I said. The moment I threw the ball, Spike exploded into motion. He ran across the yard like a red streak, grabbed the ball, and sprinted back toward me. He dropped it at my feet, tail wagging, eyes shining. "Okay," I laughed. "You definitely know how to play." We did that over and over again. Throw, run, catch, return. Sometimes after playing he would lie beside me while I sat on the grass, and I would scratch behind his ears while he closed his eyes like he had discovered the greatest happiness in the world. Days turned into weeks, and somewhere in those quiet routines, Spike became more than just a pet. He became my shadow, my companion, my calm. But then something strange started happening. It was small at first. One evening, while I was reading on the couch, Spike climbed beside me and began sniffing my hair. Not just a quick sniff, he kept smelling it again and again. "Hey," I said, laughing. "What are you doing?" I gently pushed his nose away. He wagged his tail but didn't stop. Over the next few days, he kept doing it. Every time I sat down, every time I lay on the couch, he would approach my head and sniff my hair carefully, almost intensely. At first I thought it was funny. Do I smell weird? I asked him one day. But the behavior didn't stop. Spike kept doing it over and over again. Long sniffs, focused attention. Eventually it started making me uncomfortable. Not because he was aggressive, it never was. Wow. But the way he kept returning to the same place made me wonder if something was wrong. One morning, after he did it again while I was sitting at the table, I sighed. Okay, this is weird. I stared at him. His thatted tail wagging slowly, and for some reason I couldn't explain, I decided to schedule a medical appointment. I almost canceled it twice. Part of me felt ridiculous. I kept thinking, I'm going to a doctor because my dog keeps sniffing my hair. But something inside me told me to go anyway. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and quiet worry. I sat in the waiting room scrolling on my phone, trying not to think too much. The doctor asked a few routine questions and suggested some scans just to be safe. I wasn't worried. Not yet. But when the results came back, everything changed. The doctor sat across from me, serious. There's something we need to talk about. My stomach dropped. They had found a tumor in my brain. For a moment, the room felt like it tilted sideways. I could barely hear the rest of the explanation. Treatment options, early detection, possible outcomes. All I could think was one thing. If Spike and T behaved that way, I might never have come here. 6 months later, those words appeared in my life like the title of a difficult chapter. 6 months of treatment. 6 months of hospital visits. 6 months of fear, exhaustion, and long nights. My hair was gone now. The mirror showed someone I barely recognized, but one thing had never changed. Spike was always there. Every morning when I woke up, he was lying beside my bed. Every time I came home from the hospital, he greeted me with the same calm loyalty. On my worst days, when the weight of everything felt unbearable, he rested his head gently on my knee as if reminding me to keep breathing. Some nights I cried quietly while he slept beside me. Other nights I simply sat on the floor holding him, feeling his steady heartbeat. Even with him there, I won't lie, there were days when I felt deeply sad. Being 18 and fighting something like this feels unfair in ways that are hard to explain. But Spike never treated me like I was broken. To him, I was still the same person who threw the tennis ball in the yard, the same person who scratched behind his ears, the same person who brought him home from the shelter. And slowly, something incredible started happening. The treatments began working. The doctors noticed improvement. My body started responding. Hope returned in small, fragile pieces. Until one day, the doctor walked into the room with a smile. "The treatment worked," he said. "You're recovering." I cried in the parking lot that day, not out of fear, out of relief. When I got home, Spike ran toward me like always. I knelt down and hugged him tightly. "You saved me," I whispered. Months later, when my strength returned and my hair slowly began growing back, I drove somewhere very familiar. The animal shelter. Walking through those doors again felt surreal. Dogs barked from the kennels just like the first day I came, but this time I wasn't there just to adopt a companion. I was there because I understood something deeply now. Rescued dogs don't just need saving. Sometimes they save us. Spike stood beside me, calm as ever, as I walked past the kennels. Inside them were dogs waiting exactly the way he once had. Hopeful, patient, silent heroes. I turned to the volunteer. "I want to help them find homes," I said. That day I adopted another dog. And another later on, not to replace Spike. He would always be my first. My hero. But because I knew now that every one of those dogs might be the answer to someone's unseen struggle, Spike had saved my life by noticing something no human had seen. Now I wanted to help more dogs find the people they were meant to help. Because sometimes the hero we need isn't wearing a cape. Sometimes he's a quiet dog waiting patiently in a shelter kennel,